So Ed Pugsley has a bachelor's degree from the University of Utah in urban planning and an MBA from the University of Utah. He has worked in construction and construction management for many years at Woodside Homes, Richmond American Homes, Garf Construction as an assistant project manager and estimator, Penn Talon Construction as a project manager and estimator. And now he's founded his own company called Crescent Construction that he's run for the last 5 years that does commercial and multifamily general contracting. Ed is a good friend of mine. He's the dad of 5 kids, soon to be 8 kids, I think. Oh, soon to be 6. I'm just kidding.
6 kids.
Okay. So he's also volunteered his time. Lots of really cool nonprofit work. We've worked together running a nonprofit youth boys ranch, where we taught young men the value of working hard, enjoying the outdoors, and serving others. So Ed, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, can you guys see me? All right.
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, if we have any questions, I might need to come closer and repeat them, but we'll let you take it away for now.
Okay. Well, I wish I was down there with you guys. I was planning to come down and be there in person, but the snow just prevented me from getting on I-15 and driving down from Salt Lake. So, maybe let's just have a little participation right now. What you guys can speak up, and what type of businesses are you guys interested in starting, or what kind of business would you like to be involved with when you're done with school?
Software.
Say it one more time.
Software over here.
Software.
Okay.
What other ones?
Real estate.
Real estate. Who's that? Raise your hand real quick. There you go. Real estate. Marketing. I saw, I talked to, what's your name and the CEO? Warren, are you interested in construction management?
Yeah, I'm getting a civil engineering degree to go into construction management, project management.
Okay, so there's engineering, construction management, project management. Cool. What other ideas? Gideon?
IT support and cybersecurity.
IT support and cybersecurity. I know Henry's got something.
Business or software.
Software as well, or general business.
Yeah.
Okay. Has anybody actually started a business right now and is running something, or maybe just? I know. Oh yeah, Heidi, your friend. She gave you away. Heidi, what are you doing right now? Jewelry. Yeah, Heidi has her own jewelry business, but it's unique. It's jewelry made out of shotgun shells, old bullet casings. Kind of cool. What's the name of it? One Shot Stop. Anyone else? Yeah.
So my father started his automotive business. So I've been helping run the parts, like he sells a lot of parts. And so I'm just running that.
And you're Marco, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was an automotive business his father started. He sells automotive parts. And is this also your dad that makes guitars?
No, my grandpa.
That's your grandpa. Okay. Cool. All right. Hopefully that gives you an idea there, Ed.
Great. Okay. Well, I'm going to talk about starting a construction company, and I think the principles that I'll talk about can apply to any business, any that you guys mentioned. So just because we're talking about construction, kind of listen carefully for the principles that I talk about that are important when you want to start a business. So, and let me know if you want me to stop, if you have a question or a comment. I'm happy to to stop the presentation. So, all right, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. So I'll just give you a little background of what I do. So I do commercial construction and multifamily construction, and I'm a general contractor, which means that I manage all of the trades that go into the building. So all the flooring and this walls and paint and framing and drywall and lighting and mechanical plumbing. So everything you see here, I managed. So that's why I'm called a general contractor. So I don't actually hold a hammer. I don't have a nail gun or anything like that. I manage people. So my main tool for my construction work is a cell phone, and I call and I make sure people show up and make sure that projects get completed. So I do a lot of work for Comcast, Xfinity. I don't know if you guys are connected with them with your TV, but I do a lot of their stores throughout Utah. Let's see. Here's another little project that we do a lot of office work. So this is the interior of a building. It's a 2-story building that we built. Here's another picture of it. This is down in Provo. This was just completed within the last year. Here's another retail buildings that we built down in Provo. These are, you can see there's a crispy cones, but there will be others built within this building, other retail stores. This is an apartment building in Sugar House in Salt Lake City. And it's an 18-unit apartment building. These are other townhomes that we build. Again, we do a lot of multifamily work. And then I do a lot of work up at the University of Utah. And this is a classroom that we built there. Auditorium classroom. So anyway, that just gives you a little bit of background of what I do. So as we talk about this, you can kind of get a sense. But so let's backtrack. How did I get to this point of running my own business? I think a lot of us kind of want to start a business right away. My take is that before you want to start your own business, there's a lot of background work that you need to do to get ready for that to that point. If you remember Russ introducing me, he mentioned that I worked for lots of different construction companies. So I worked for, I think, 4 different construction companies before I decided to start my own company. So I'm going to call this the conservative approach. What I mean by that is, if I have an idea to start a tie company that makes neckties, I don't know anything about a tie company, and that would be pretty risky for me to go in and try to figure out how to make ties and how to sell them, how to work with manufacturers that help build the ties. So I like the conservative approach, and that is to really learn a skill learn a skill before you venture out on your own. So again, I worked for 4 different construction companies before I decided to go out on my own. And that really gave me a skill that that I was confident in being able to do what I'm doing. So let's say that one of you mentioned that you want to do software work. Well, if you've never worked for a software company, that would be your kind of your first step, is to probably get a low level job. I show in this picture a guy sweeping, and that's what I mean by kind of a low level job. If you're interested in software, you're going to have to start at the bottom and kind of learn the trade, learn the skill, and as you grow in that industry, you'll need to learn lots of aspects of it. For example, how do I produce the product? How do I sell the product? How do I manage the money? How do I make a profit? And how do I have satisfied customers? So before you ever think about starting your own company, you need to really understand these questions. If you don't understand them, then you're most likely going to fail in starting your new company. So I'm going to just go back to this slide. So what I suggest is working for someone else. Before you spend a lot of money and a lot of risk starting your company, work for somebody else. Work for another marketing company or an IT support cyber company. Work for a software real estate company. Really get to know how things work. And again, that's what I call the conservative approach to starting your company. Okay, so in this picture, I show a little staircase made out of concrete. This is at the Salt Lake Community College. So anyway, this is kind of this picture. It's pretty simple, right? It's just a little staircase. It brings back a lot of emotion for me because this was a project that I did entirely myself. In the sense that I communicated with Salt Lake Community College. They told me the project. I put an estimate together, or a bid, and figured out all the costs for it. I put together all of the materials that needed to be put together for this project. I managed all the workers that were working on it. I managed the money. And then at the end of the day, we made a profit. So I actually made money on this, and our client, the Salt Lake Community College, was really happy with our work. And so even though this staircase is really kind of a simple little thing, it gave me a lot of confidence because I realized that that I could do it on my own. If I could do this little staircase on my own, and make money, then I could actually maybe do something bigger and make money as well. And so I always, when I kind of think of my beginnings, I always come back to this little staircase. So before I started my company, I built this building. This is in Salt Lake City. This also gave me a lot of confidence in starting my own company because I did everything on my own. I did all the sales work. I found the client and I worked with them, and I gave them a bid or an estimate. So I put together all the numbers. I managed the construction. I managed all the money, and we made a profit. This is for working for another company, but I did everything from start to finish to make sure this building was built, and we had a really satisfied customer. And it was after this project that I kind of said, okay, I know what I'm doing. I can do this on my own. I know I know everything there is to make this happen, to build this building, and to make sure I have a satisfied client, a customer. And so this was a real confidence booster for me. So before you start your business, get to where you are really, really confident. And I kind of talked about that process. You want to work for other people, learn from them, learn the pitfalls, the road bumps, and you'll make mistakes. But working for someone else, you're going to be much more prepared, and have much more confidence to do it on your own. Do you have any questions at this point?
Yeah, we got a question over here.
Okay.
You on the screen?
What did it take for you to like figure out your startup? Like kind of like to figure out the numbers it take to start up your business, like where do you kind of find that at?
So the question is, how did you figure out the numbers to start up your business? Is that right?
What do you mean by numbers? Explain
So,
that.
like, well, starting a business can't be cheap, so like how did you figure out everything that you were gonna need and the cost to start up your business?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you know, again, I'm a general contractor, and so I don't actually have any tools. I don't have a nail gun. I don't own I do have a hammer, but I don't use it. And so my costs for getting into construction were pretty small. I probably spent $5,000 or to kind of get ready. I found a little office space, so I had to pay for that. I put together a website that cost me a few $100s. I had to get my contractor's license. That was a few $100s. So I'd been saving money on my own, and when I started my company, I also had some investors that helped bring in some money, but really we didn't need much because they're really I don't have a lot of overhead furniture. I bought a laptop, but again, it was probably all under $5,000 to kind of get things rolling. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
So yeah, if you when you're working for somebody else and you have this idea to start your own company, make a savings account and try to start putting money towards that idea that you have. I realize that some companies need a lot more money to start, and in those cases, you may need someone else to invest in you, to invest in your company some money. But lots of companies just don't really require that much money to get started. Okay. So this is a warning. I have a picture of this used car dealership. A friend of mine heard great things about used car dealerships, and he thought, "Oh, wow, you can make a lot of money in used cars." And he had some money, and so he didn't know anything about it. He didn't know the first thing about selling used cars, but he he thought it was a neat idea, a really cool idea. So he put some money together and started a used car dealership. And within 6 months, he was out of business. And I talked to him after this and asked him what happened. You had this great idea and you were really excited about it. How come it failed? And he said, "Well, I didn't know anything about selling used cars." So, so again, this goes back to the idea that you really need to work for somebody else. If you want to start a used car company, you need to work for a used car dealership, and it may take 5 years to really get an understanding of how that business works before you'd ever consider going out and starting your own. Okay, I'm going to switch gears here and talk about strengths and weaknesses. So after starting my company, well, before starting my company, I had a really good sense of what I was good at and what I was bad at. So this is really, really important when starting your own business. You need to know yourself and because when you're starting your own business, you wear multiple hats. You're doing lots of things. That you're dealing with money, and you're dealing with customers, you're dealing with estimating and buying and selling and all these things that can be difficult. And if you don't know what you're good at and what you're bad at, then you're going to run into some real problems. So, for example, before starting my business, I knew that I was good with customers. So I know how to make a customer happy. And I knew this was a real strength because I worked for these other construction companies and I knew how to deal with people and how to make them happy. And so that gave me a lot of confidence. But but at the same time, I had a weakness, and one of my weaknesses is accounting. Doing all the accounting, all the spreadsheets for your bookkeeping and running the numbers, and so I was, for a long time, I didn't want to start my company because I was like worried about this weakness. I had a real good sense of it because I worked for these other companies, and but knowing your weakness is important. But don't let that stop you. You want to build a plan to compensate for your weakness. So what did I do? I hired a lady that does all my accounting. So she's really good at accounting and running the numbers. And so so now I don't have to worry about my weakness because I have somebody working for me that does that and keeps everything in order. But if you don't know what your weaknesses are, that's a real problem, because once you start your company, you're going to learn real fast what your weaknesses are, and by then it's probably too late. So if you can get a good sense of what your strengths and weaknesses are before you start, then you're ahead of the game. Any questions on that? Okay. All right. I want to talk about modifying your business model. So,
Ed, we've got about 10 minutes left, a little more than 10
Okay.
minutes.
all right. So when we started the company, we started building custom homes. So this is one of the homes that we built, and for a while, I just felt like, my real strength is commercial construction, not residential. So I shifted away from this, and now I just focus on commercial. I don't build homes like this anymore. And so sometimes after you've started your business, you have to make shifts that help you kind of streamline your business a little bit better. All right. So one of the problems that I see out there with people starting new businesses is they try to get big too fast. So just a little this is just a little piece of advice that get good at being small, and before you start trying to become bigger. So be a small company for several years and get really good at it before you ever think about growing your company. Okay. So one book that I recommend you read for anybody that wants to start a new business is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. He teaches you a lot of really good principles about developing yourself so that you can be effective in working with other people. And so put that on your list to read when you have some spare time. But lastly, I just wanted to talk about having good values. This is the most important part of my business. If you're out there to cheat or to lie or to if your values aren't right, then you're not starting out on the right foot and you're going to fail. It's just a matter of time. And so work on developing yourself. If you can be committed to being honest, being reliable, delivering a quality product, and being efficient. These are just very basic principles that in the end are so important. It doesn't matter if you're in real estate or automotive parts or IT support. You need to really have these principles at your core, so that otherwise people kind of see right through you if you don't have these qualities. So I would work on that. And that's all I've got. So I'll just open it up to questions.
Okay, any questions? Yeah, Gideon.
How long have you been, going at the current business you're doing before? Like, how many years have you been running this particular business you founded?
Just about 6 years.
And how many years were you in construction before starting? You said 4 companies. How many total years was that?
Yeah, maybe about 13 years.
Okay. You had a question over here?
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask, like, do you have advice for like new business starting? Do you have advice?
Advice for new business startups? Yeah, that's what all this was. This whole presentation. Yeah, I mean, what do you mean?
I don't know, just like specific things, like things that you don't show. So,
Yeah, so let's see, here's some takeaways. Get really good experience and develop a skill before you start your own business. So really get a concrete skill. Um, learn your strengths and your weaknesses in business, so that you can compensate for your weaknesses with have a strategy for your weaknesses, and work on developing your core. So your core values, honesty, integrity, uh, customer satisfaction. Those are all really important things to help you start your business.
Okay, and then was there someone else that had a hand over here? Thought I saw another hand. No? Ed, I've got a question. You mentioned switching, you started out doing residential and commercial, and then you stopped doing residential. You've talked a lot about learning from other people before you go out on your own. How did you, I guess the question is, that sounds like something that you learned kind of after you started, that you didn't want to do residential, but you started out doing that. Was that an expensive lesson to learn, or how did you make that pivot without that ruining your current business,
Yeah, so part of it was I felt like my strength, one of my strengths is in commercial construction, not residential. So I felt like I could be better at that. And also, I felt like I could make more money doing commercial work than residential. So and I just had to, you just have to be willing to adapt when you're doing your business. Another thing that I'm working on adapting now is, instead of working for private owners, I'm doing more government work now, and that's because the economy is such that it's easier to find government work than it is to find private work. So you just need to be willing to adapt to what's going on in the economy and and also your own strengths and weaknesses. So.
Great. And then you mentioned several times that you're not the guy that has the nail gun or the hammer and walks around and actually builds things, but that doesn't mean that you don't know how to do that, right? You've spent years walking around job sites saying, hey, this isn't right. We got to redo these stairs, or this floor isn't right, or stuff like that. So you're not saying you don't know anything about it. You're just saying that's not how you spend your time now.
Yeah. Yeah. So my take on that is if I put on a tool belt and hold up a hammer, then I start working on something, then what happens is I'm actually neglecting another part of the business. So, by putting all of your time into one small thing, you're missing some other big components of the bigger picture of the bigger company. So by having other people do the work, I'm able to focus my energy and my time on running the entire company. So I really work hard. Sometimes I want to get a hammer out and do some work, but I find that when I do that, I lose money somehow on another part of the company. So.
Okay, great.
So yeah, again, my tool is my phone. On my phone, I can check my email and I can check spreadsheets and I can call people, and that's main tool.
Thanks, Ed. Any other questions from you guys? Okay, I had one other question, which was, it sounds like as a general contractor, you rely on a lot of relationships. You've got to know people who can do all these different pieces of a project to make it come together. So how have you built those relationships, and what advice would you give these students about building relationships?
Yeah, in the end, it all comes down to your core values. You know, being kind to people, being honest, being sticking to your word. If you tell somebody you'll get a project done on Tuesday, you better get it done on Tuesday. Those core values help develop relationships, and in the minute the minute you do something wrong with your, if you're not being honest, or you're not being if you're not worried about a quality product, then you instantly break those relationships. And so yeah, I can't stress that enough. You really work on your core values, and that will help build really strong, long-lasting relationships with people.
That's great. So there must have been at least one time when there's something that happens outside of your control where you may not have been able to hit a deadline, right? Maybe there was weather, there's supply chain issues. How do you handle that when you're really doing your best to hit that deadline and keep those promises, but you just can't,
Yeah, you mentioned it, if doing your best, and people see that if people know that you're doing your best, and then they work with you, and they they respect weather delay. They work with you, and don't get mad at you because they know, hey, it rained and he wasn't able to pour his concrete. He tried whatever he could to make it happen, but it didn't work. So just people can see if you're trying your best, or if you're ignoring them. And so yeah, try your best. But yeah, mistakes, construction's a wild world, and problems happen every day that I don't have control over. And so yeah, you just have to have good communication with customers, and to kind of talk through the problems, and show them that you're trying your best.
Great. Well, I think that's all the time we have, Ed. So thank you so much for joining us today. Let's have a round of applause for Mr. Pugsley. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry I couldn't be down there with you in person.
That was great.